Greetings, brothers. My name is Jordan Barnes. I am the Northeast District historian slash alumni liaison, and this is a personal project that I've thought about entitled the NED Alumni Speaker Series. Just to give you a little history about it, I developed this project thinking about ways for the district to not only unite or become more engaged with our alumni, but also to kind of pick their brains and find out what kind of wisdom that they have. I know personally what made me think of this idea was a personal interaction with one of my chapter brothers, alumni chapter brothers, back at my school at Norfolk State University. And he really told me about something that deals with life in general and not necessarily specifically for chapter business, but also it can be used in chapter business. So the idea came to me, what can I do to prepare brothers for life after graduation, but also to help them during their college careers. So without further ado, I would like to our first guest speaker to introduce himself.
Yeah, well, first off, hello everybody, and I just wanted to thank all the brothers who are watching. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of this incredible idea. And secondly, wanted to thank Jordan and the rest of the KKSI NED Council for this opportunity to be a part of this conversation. So for myself, my name is Blanco, and I'm proudly serving as your Vice President for Student Affairs, and I am a life member of the Alpha Zeta chapter at Indiana University. And I currently live in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I work as a PR and marketing professional. Musically, I play the flute and piccolo, and also had the honor of serving as the marching 100 drum major for my last 2 years at IU. And as for KKSI, I was initiated in the spring of 2012 and had the honor of serving as our chapter president and president of the North Central District. And overall, these experiences have brought back to me how important it is for us to develop deep relationships and to serve as a supporter and advocate for our students. So I am extremely excited to be here to help give back and to hopefully ignite some conversations and some ideas for you all today.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. So our first topic for our alumni speaker series is mental health in the band world. I truly believe that mental health is an important topic, especially during our college careers. We all understand that college can be stressful, but also adding that extra pressure of band is also something that can send people over the edge. So I feel like this was a perfect topic to start off with. And I can't wait to hear some of these answers as I'm learning too. So my first question for you would be, what is mental health to you?
Sure. So yeah, I think this is a great question, and like you said, we're all learning through this as well. But let me start off by saying that mental health is just such an important part of our daily dialogue. And by no means am I an expert on this, and by no means am I giving medical advice. So I'm simply speaking on my personal experiences and opinions. And again, my hope is with tonight's discussion, will spark some deeper conversations for our brothers and their chapter. So for mental health, this is an equally important component of our overall health and wellness. Just like our physical health, our mental health plays a vital role in our day-to-day life. And mental health includes our emotional, our psychological, and our social wellness. And it affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And it helps us determine how we handle stress, how we relate to one another, and how we make decisions on a day-to-day basis. And I think that it's, many factors contribute to mental health, such as biological factors, such as life experiences and family history of mental illness, but also the things that we do in our lives, such as band and KK Psi. So yeah, to me, that's what mental health is.
Awesome, awesome. So how do you think this, specifically how mental health is related to college and band?
Yeah. So as for college and band, these are obviously very important parts of our lives as brothers of KK Psi. And like I said earlier, mental health plays a vital role in our day-to-day actions, our day-to-day lives. So of course it relates to college and band because that's something that we do almost day to day. And let me just come out and say this, that college and band, on top of everything else that is expected of us as human beings, can be pretty rough sometimes. And mental and emotional wellness is something that we don't talk about too often. And I just think that without these conversations, without connecting the dots, and paying attention to our mental emotional wellness, it can sometimes get pretty rough and overwhelming. So I think it's really important for fans and for college students to partake in that daily conversation and to incorporate mental wellness into their daily dialogue and to really set healthy boundaries. And like I said earlier, I'm still learning about these each day. So you are definitely not alone. And it's not too late to start practicing these wellness and self-care methods.
And that's very interesting that you brought up that we don't actually talk about mental health that often. I find it interesting that it seems like as band members, we're taking on this role as a strong and I could do anything Superman or Superwoman who doesn't really take the time to actually realize that, hey, this is actually a lot right now. Or, sometimes they may feel that it's demeaning if they talk about their feelings to other people. Um, do you think that that happens in collegiate bands? Do you think that that's something that is prevalent in today?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just kind of repeating it, in college and in band, we don't often talk about it. And that's why I'm very grateful for our organization, KK Psi, because I don't think without KK Psi, just being honest here, I really did not learn about mental health, mental wellness, emotional wellness, until I really got into KK Psi. So I absolutely agree that band can be stressful, for college students. On top of everything that is expected of us as humans, there's our family life, there's social life, there's school, there's finances, there's trying to get a job after you graduate, and there's just simply trying to graduate. There's a lot, and when we don't have healthy boundaries, and have an understanding of our own capacities, we can often lead ourselves into a deep hole of stress and, by simply adding more responsibilities. And don't get me wrong, band is a great source of joy, a great source of happiness and wellness for many of us. But I think it's very important that we recognize that college and band is sort of like a double-edged sword, with the possibility to add more stress and negativity to our lives. So for me personally, it was learning about what those negative sources were and really discovering my capacities as a human being and recognizing that each day is different and my 100% looks differently each day as well. And I think that without KK Psi, I would have not had the opportunity to learn more about mental health, because like you said, it's something that there's a lot of stigma to it. There is a lot of, especially within, within the male group of people, there's this stigma. If I talk about my feelings, if I talk about my emotions, it makes me weak, it makes me less. So a lot of times I find, even within myself, that I have to take a moment to say, it's okay, I can talk about these things. And again, it's just setting those healthy boundaries for others, but also for yourself, to know, like, when you realize you have reached your capacity, this is when I need to check in on myself as well.
Yes, I love that. I never heard that how my 100% can look different each day. Like that is very important. That is something to take away from this. But with that being said, you know, how do you and relating it back to, you saying that, it wasn't until you came into KK that you actually found this new answer or this new solution to mental health. So how do you suggest that brothers can ease the pressure of college and band and kind of actually take a step back and say, let me reevaluate?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a great question. And I think this is a question that I think many people kind of think about or do ask themselves, but really don't know how to navigate. Um, so for me, again, like if it wasn't for KKSI, I would have not even had the opportunity to have these conversations, would have not had the opportunity for that introspection. And I think that is just so valuable. Just having the, the permission to say, hey, I can take a moment for myself and really assess what are my capacities? What does my 100% look like? And what does it feel like when I'm at my 100%? What does it feel like when I'm not at my 100%? And then giving yourself that permission to take that break, giving yourself that permission to say, hey, I'm going to try to AEA, but if I don't get there, it's okay. So for myself, there's lots of things that, lots of ways that people can tackle this problem or again, lead into these conversations. But I would say, chapters, or brothers, reach out to your university and college. There are resources, there are professionals out there to help you have these conversations. There are resources out there on the internet as well. Obviously, don't believe everything on the internet, but there are really good resources. Yeah, resources out there. If you look on a lot of the university websites, there's research that's being done. There's a lot of articles that are being written. Just at least exposing yourself to different ideas and different conversations and different perspectives about mental health, I think just at least opens up the realm for you to evaluate yourself as well. So something that, I had to do, and I hate writing. Like I would just put that I hate writing so much, but I started right. It's like, what do I write about? So I started journaling, and it took a little bit of time to really get used to it, but within a week or so, did start to feel a little bit of relief from it. And when I first started writing, and I'm sure there are people out there that can associate with this, where I was like, oh, my writing is not good enough. Oh, I'm not being deep enough about this. And once I kind of had those conversations with myself, I was kind of able to get past them because I had those conversations and I recognized that those were like, hey, that's a red flag. Hey, that's a red flag. And I started writing about, my emotions. I started writing about, myself. And that really helps me sort of have that moment of reflection, which is really important for us as brothers, really important for us as human beings, having that moment for some introspection. So I highly suggest journaling. Um, the second thing I think is really important is, brothers, are you taking the time to schedule in that free time for yourself, that mental break each day or, every so often? How the frequency of it is really dependent on you, but are you timing it in? And are you holding yourself accountable that when it's break time, it's break time. And when that break time is over, it's over. Right. So we don't get into the cycle of, oh, we're on break all the time and we are avoiding, but we're also giving ourselves that mental break, putting it into our schedule and holding ourselves accountable to saying, hey, I need to take a moment for myself. I need to take a moment to fill my cup. And for me, I'm sure there are people out there that can associate with this, but I felt like when I wasn't being creative or when I wasn't being productive throughout the entire day while I was awake, that I was falling behind on something. There was this feeling of anxiousness of like, something's going to burn, something's going to crash and burn. And once I started developing that time block of rest time, rest time, rest time into my days. I started to get used to being able to unplug. I was able to really just kind of let those thoughts kind of leave my mind a bit, because I felt like there was this anxiety, there was these thoughts that kept running around in my head, and I felt this heaviness, that I had to keep doing something. And the fact that I simply gave myself permission to take a half an hour, to take an hour, to take a break, it was incredible. um, and what you do with your free time, again, is totally up to you. Playing music, listening to music can be something that's really awesome. Myself, I personally love to take a walk to some local coffee shop and just sit there with a cup of coffee, just people watching. And that may be incredibly weird, but then that's where I get my energy. I get my energy being around people. I was rejuvenated, so I put myself in a situation where I knew that I would be filling my cup. And brothers out there, we are musical and creative people. Try something creative. If you don't like simply playing music and listening to music, try something different. Choreograph a dance. You could, oh, karaoke is a great option as well. Like, really using karaoke with your friends as stress relief is fantastic. One of my personal favorites is to do a Zumba class. I just love Zumba so much, and again, it's a great way to relieve stress. So again, it's really up to you. It's up to how you can rejuvenate yourself, but take the time to think about that. Do you like to write? If you don't, challenge yourself to. If you don't like to read, maybe challenge yourself to do that. Try something new. Try something creative. But taking the moment to do that introspection and to schedule it into your daily schedule, I think, can really help out.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I know I personally will definitely take some of those ideas for myself. And I'm beginning to understand how important that rest time is, and actually giving yourself permission. I feel that giving yourself permission is acknowledging that you need a break, and acknowledging that, hey, this is becoming too much right now. Let me let me just collect myself. And actually penciling in that for future times may prevent something seriously um that may happen as far as mental health is concerned. Because I understand that if you just keep on going and going and going, at some point you're going to run out and there's not going to be anything left. So I do understand the importance of catching it as soon as possible, and
Yeah.
understanding that, hey, let me preserve myself.
Right. No, and that's great too. Just because sparked something in my mind here, is that something that it took me a while to learn and to really wrap my head around. And just some background information. I grew up in a family that's half Chinese, half Vietnamese. Mental health, mental wellness is not something we have discussed. Not something that I don't think it's ever been brought up in my family. So growing up, it was really hard for me to fully understand how important mental wellness and mental health is for individuals. On top of that, when I started to learn that, we have fantastic people out there who are who live with this every single day. And I think one of the, on top of giving yourself permission, is giving yourself permission to ask for help, to seek help, and recognizing that you are not alone. And because, let's say, even if you're feeling like you can't ask for help, that doesn't make you less, that doesn't make you weak. You are a human being, and you are a human being with these with mental illness, or whatever it may be. Like, you are not alone. There are resources out there for you. And I think the more and more we have conversations about this, and breaking through that stigma, not only culturally, but within ourselves as well, I think is extremely important. And again, I think it starts with smaller actions, and these smaller actions that we take towards improving our lives, at least in the terms of mental wellness and mental health. These small actions can start to compound to create larger change for yourself. But again, I think it starts with smaller actions. I think it starts with giving yourself permission and just being able to recognize that, like, hey, like I need a moment, or hey, like I need help.
Yeah, and I find it interesting how how you mentioned that resources are actually out there and they're closer than they may seem. And let me know if you agree with this, but I think for those who may feel uncomfortable, they could take smaller steps as to those that they can open up to. As far as somebody that's in your chapter that you may feel comfortable speaking to, or even
Mhm.
understanding that you can speak with your sponsor or your director of bands if you don't necessarily feel the confidence to speak with a counselor or a mental health professional that's located on campuses. Do you think that's something that um, is accessible to brothers?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think taking that step to ask for help, I think, is an incredibly brave one. And you're definitely leading with vulnerability, which again, I think is a great sign of strength. And, reaching out to your district leadership, your district governors, your chapter sponsor, the people that you look up to in your section, in your chapter. I think that's the great thing about band, and that's the great thing about KK Psi, is that even though within band we don't, at least from my experience, we don't talk about it too much. We do have those relations and those people that we have deeper ties with, that we can reach out to, that we can um, really confide in, and really talk about how, hey, like I'm not doing well and I don't know what to do, and that's completely normal. So again, that taking that first step to asking for help and just talking, I think is a great sign of strength. And again, if you're a brother out there who's listening, and you still feel hesitant, still feel scared too, again, that doesn't make you less, doesn't make you weak. You're human, and hopefully that these conversations that we're having right now can shed some light on the resources that you do have. For example, myself, for the rest of our national council, your district governors, again, your district council, like, we are here for you. We are a brotherhood, and we stand shoulder to shoulder.
Definitely, definitely. Um, and using that to lead into our next question, do you believe it's important for brothers to actually focus on mental health, in addition to the everyday chapter operations? And if so, how do you suggest that we actually fit that into our schedule?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mental health, mental wellness, it's just as important to our overall health. And remember, your brain is an organ too, and should be treated like any other organ or body part. A lot of people who like to go to the gym, we often think about, cardiac health. It's an organ just as well, and it deserves that care and it deserves that attention, just like any other organ in our body. So for chapter operations, some ideas that I've seen, I've started seeing some chapters create what we call a mental health chair, which is a brother in the chapter that focuses on bringing resources to the chapter and encouraging these types of conversations about mental health. What I will say is we have to be careful not to fall into that quote chapter shrink role and act as a professional. We have to be very careful that we're not giving medical advice, that we're not sitting in as the local expert. So mental health chair is something that I've seen. Chapters can also bring in speakers. You have professionals who you can bring in, utilize national resources and funding to bring in a professional to hold a workshop or an event that promotes these type of conversations. And I think that can be incredibly powerful. And you can maybe, even if you have a sister chapter, maybe collaborate with them or collaborate with any other organization out there, because again, this is an important conversation for all. Something else, I often like to ask chapters is, are we building in a time to assess ourselves and maybe even checking in on each other? Um, Sometimes, especially during the busy times of the year, midterms, finals, banding, band competitions, whatever it is, I like to ask, are we focused on just the tasks and projects, so much that we are forgetting about the relationships and the experience we want all of our brothers to have? Taking that time to assess as a chapter, but also as individual brothers within the organization. Another question, are we establishing an environment where brothers feel safe to report any potential issues or to share, that they need help? Are you creating an environment for people to feel safe, to be vulnerable? Something else, are we delegating enough to others so that you know so that some may not feel overwhelmed and that others feel useful? And I think that there are chapters out there, big, small, whatever it is. Chapters tend to get stuck in this routine where the few lead and the rest sort of sit. And maybe that's for efficiency's sake. Maybe I don't know the reason, but as leaders, as brothers, are we finding ways to get other people involved? Are we finding ways, to allow brothers to utilize their passion points, maybe some passion projects, whatever it is, are we helping people feel useful? Because again, that could really play into someone's, emotional state. That could play a big part into someone's mental health as well. And so here's the thing, for your chat, your chapter the best. And if you take a moment to listen to one another, I'm sure you will be able to pinpoint areas that you can start working to strengthen as a chapter. And it doesn't have to be some big grand idea that's going to change the world in one day. Again, start small. Remember that these acts of empathy, of vulnerability, and of leadership can compound to create effective change for your chapter, and then to your band program, and then to your campus.
Awesome, awesome. I'd like to go back to one of your points, and you mentioned how making sure that us as a brotherhood create spaces that brothers can feel safe and have that environment where they can actually be vulnerable and actually open up and be honest about what they're actually going through. And I think that's important, especially as it relates to brotherhood being one of our pillars. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but you know, I want us to understand that when we create certain events or certain projects that will fall under our brotherhood pillar, I want us to understand that it's not necessarily about the event per se. It's more about the experience, and it's more about actually learning the brothers that are in your chapter and actually creating that bond and ensuring that you know if if things are to get bad, we're here for you and we're ready to do anything that you need us to do to help you get past any negative points or low points of your life, and that this is a lifelong commitment that we are going to be here for each other.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the one thing that I always go back to, or that that I always try to focus on, at least, is the experience aspect of anything that we do. Yes, there are things that we need to complete. There are reports that we need to fill. There are scales we need to practice. But at the end of the day, it's the experience. It's the experience that we need to focus on. It's the relationships, that we need to focus on with one another. And so, I'll point out an example. So for myself, I always loved going to these events just because, chapter events, and chapter meetings and band rehearsals, just because that's where I felt rejuvenated. That's where I really thrived, as with other people. I consider myself to be a really social person. And it took me a while to understand, for example, when I was still in college, Monday nights, we had our marching band rehearsal, and then we would go into our concert band. It was a smaller concert band rehearsal, and then right after that, it was chapter meeting. And I had this one friend, one brother, who was always so off, so kind of cold on Mondays, and it didn't really register to me that, oh, it was just Mondays. It's just like, I was like, oh, they're just in a bad mood, and I was just so focused on the event itself. I was focused on like, oh, we need to go here, here, and here. We need to make sure we can get this and this and this done. And it wasn't until someone said, hey, I don't think this person is feeling too well. Have you talked to them? I was like, no, I haven't. I just kind of brushed it off as them again being moody or whatever. And it wasn't until at another point I kind of chatted with my friend and said, hey, what's up? What's going on? And they're like, oh, I feel better now. It's just, I get so emotionally drained being around people, and it takes a lot out of me on Monday nights to be marching band, to be at concert band, and then to be at chapter. Just takes so much out of me. And it's like, wow, like I'd never even thought about that. Like, I was so focused on the event itself. I was so focused on getting things done and checking things off the list, and like how great I felt, that I forgot to check in on my brothers, especially ones that felt that way. So yes, I completely agree to that. I completely agree that we really need to at all times focus on the experience when it comes to our MEP, when it comes to the conversations that we have. I think that what makes KKSI special and unique is that we have the ability to be creative about how we have these types of conversations and how we make people feel and how we develop these relationships. It's in such a unique way. It's through music, it's through band. And at the end of the day, it's about the experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know for sure I'm trying my best to focus on that um, more than ever because, again, mental health is such a serious thing. It, it's kind of, you have to, really to understand who you are playing with, who you are marching with, who you are, developing this fraternal bond at this point. And just kind of to wrap this up a little bit, how do you, as the national vice president of student affairs, is there anything that is offered by national headquarters that can possibly help out brothers with mental health issues?
Yeah, sure. No, this is a great question, and one that we get pretty often. So brothers, I am speaking directly to you now. First thing is that the members of the National Council and I are always here for you. And we recognize that talking about mental health isn't always easy. And, we want you to know that you're not alone and that you are not less or weak for it. We have amazing district leaders that can also serve as your resources. Your district governors, your district council, can be a great resource and a great connection for you. Your university or college have resources for you as well. Don't be afraid to reach out and to utilize these sources and to connect with those who are able to offer help. As for the specific programming aspect, throughout the year, you'll see programming. You'll see it through, VPSA chats. You'll see it through social media. You'll see it through the content that we post and the content that we share through nationals and through your district. That we want to help you have these discussions and these conversations about mental health and healthy practices. And it all comes down to, again, the experience that you have and how the conversations can help you have that introspection, how these conversations can help you build some understanding, how it can help you bridge some of those gaps. Like I said, we are all learning about this. And I think, for those like myself who maybe lack an understanding before or may not understand it as well, that it's we need to get past this whole like, oh, I know everything and I don't make mistakes, because we know that when you misspeak on something, that when you say something wrong, you're not being malicious, hopefully. Moving past like, I have to be right, I have to not be wrong, and moving to like, what, hey, I'm so sorry, I misspoke. Or hey, like my friend, I mentioned earlier, hey, I'm sorry, I did not even think about this. Moving beyond being a place of having to be right to a place of seeking to understand and leading through empathy, leading through vulnerability. I think for all of us is at the end of the day, that's the goal of what our programming does. So again, you'll see programming and resources throughout the entire year, again, through the nationals, through your district as well. And here's a great thing is that we are here to serve you. So if there's any questions that you have, if there are anything, any sessions that you'd like to learn more about, please reach out to us. Your district governors, your district officers. This is a great way to really connect and to utilize the resources that we have to better serve you. So for any more information on any of this, you can reach me personally at any of my social media accounts by phone or by text. And email is a great way as well. And at the end of the day, your safety, your well-being, and your privacy are our top priorities. So please know that when you speak to us, it's not going to be plastered. It's not something that we're going to talk about behind your back. Like, this is something that we take seriously, and again, we're focused on your well-being and your safety.
Awesome. Well, I would just like to thank you for sharing all your wisdom, sharing your experiences, and actually being comfortable with sharing your story. So I'd like to thank you for joining me for our first session of the NED Alumni Speaker Series, and I just really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you again to everyone who tuned in, and again to you, Jordan, and the rest of your council for the opportunity to be a part of this. I am so extremely proud to see such great leadership for our district, and excited to continue to serve you all as our VPSA. So thank you so much, brothers.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good night.